Hey, what's up there, Internet? I'm Jordan the Match Extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this is IMPERIUS REX. On this show, we'll be going all over everything Valiant Comics.
All over it.
All over it.
We're going to pour it right down our throats.
With
Arcade Brewery's brand new Archer and Armstrong American Pale Ale.
Why don't we just dive in?
Let's do it.
Enjoy the show.
Alright, welcome back everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As we mentioned before, today we're being hydrated by the new Archer and Armstrong American Pale Ale, as put out by Arcade Brewery, a local Chicago, Illinois establishment. A friend of the show actually was able to pick these up and send them out to us. And I believe they debuted at the C2E2 this year.
Oh, yeah?
So, big deal. I think they had like a launch party and everything. The artwork's done by illustrator David LaFuente, who I believe did some Ultimate Spider-Man stuff. And I imagine he does some Archer and Armstrong too somewhere in there. But I mean, that kind of sets up that I'm not terribly familiar with Valiant Comics, Troy.
Well, Dave.
We're going to do a whole show on them.
Yep.
And I did some background, did some reading. But up until a week ago, I hadn't ever read anything from Valiant Comics. What a mistake that was.
What a mistake indeed.
Had you read anything?
Yeah.
No, neither of us have.
Nope. Well, Dave, if you want to know a little bit more about Valiant Comics, I got it all.
I think I got it all.
All right,
We're good.
We're done. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody. But I got a little info right here. It was actually surprising to note that in 1989, Valiant Comics started by editor-in-chief of Marvel, former editor-in-chief Jim Shooter, with writer-editor also Bob Layton. They went off and kind of did the Image thing before Image.
Before Image.
Even though Image is like a creator-owned thing, and they can do... Image isn't one cohesive universe.
Right.
Valiant Comics is.
Okay, so it's all-encompassing.
Yep.
Something happens on this edge, it directly affects this.
Yes.
Where Image, do whatever the hell you want.
So they had a little bit of run where they set up a bunch of these characters, some of them we'll revisit here today. And in 94, actually, Acclaim Entertainment, which you may have known in the 90s and early 2000s as a video game company, they bought out the parent company who owned Valiant Comics. And they went on to publish their own comics through Acclaim Entertainment, and also did some video games as well for these Valiant characters.
So that had to be just a 1-2 punch. I'm sure it was phenomenal.
No.
No?
They did make a few video games that were highly successful. They made a Shadow Man game and a sequel.
All right. Interesting. Let's move it along.
All right. They also did an Iron Man X-O Manowar video game crossover.
Really?
Yeah.
So they've been kind of in the public eye, right? Okay, so what happens after that?
Well, in 2004, they go bankrupt.
Oh. All right. End of story?
Nope. Because in 2005, the now CEO Dinesh Shamadasani and Jason Kathori bought the rights to Valiant Entertainment, renamed it Valiant Entertainment, and since then has been gangbusters. They've won a slew of Harvey Awards. Just look up the wiki on just Valiant Entertainment. You'll just see two huge lists of just things they've been nominated for and stuff the stuff that they've won.
A true underdog story.
Really is. They win Publisher of the Year almost every single time. Like, they have amazing runs for artist and writer combos. And coming this last C2, it was either C2E2 or WonderCon this last year, where they just hired a bunch of exclusive writers and artists as well.
WonderCon just wrapped up.
Yep.
So as we're recording this, I believe a lot of like late breaking news just happened.
Yeah.
So we can't really give you any of those details,
No.
but by the time you watch this, there's
Yeah.
probably wonderful things to look forward to.
So look it up.
Yeah.
And Valiant is actually doing so well, they've teamed up with a production company, and they have movies in the works coming up.
Sorry, I touched your foot there.
That's okay. Don't ever do it again.
No.
But they have Bloodshot and Harbinger movies in the works.
That's cool.
Crossover film in the works as well.
Might as well. Now's the time.
Now is the time.
They have a universe here.
That's true. So, where do you get started? I've never heard of these characters, you may say. I got one starting point for you.
Okay.
X-O Manowar, Valiant's like flagship book. It's like this guy is their Superman.
Okay.
Essentially. It's Eric of Dacia, and he's like this ancient warrior from like Viking and medieval times.
Mm-hmm.
And he's fighting this, these regular skirmishes that you would have with a neighboring territory.
Absolutely.
And then one evening, they get into a scuffle with these warriors I've never seen before. Turns out they're aliens that they've landed in this like medieval time period.
Of course.
They get abducted. They go up into space, and a little scuffle goes on down there where.
Sounds like this book has a lot of scuffling.
Oh, scuffles aplenty.
Scuffles and shuffles.
But the main character Eric comes across the X-O Manowar armor, which is like this it's almost worshipped in this alien community, because anytime their new big hotshot warrior is worthy enough to have it, the armor will kill him.
Okay.
It'll like collapse on him and just like kill him indefinitely. So it's pretty heavy stuff.
It's a risky move to suit up in that.
Yeah. And so turns out he suits up in it.
Well, yeah, you gotta. Wouldn't make for a very interesting book if he decided to play it safe and just, put on some chainmail or something.
Yeah. He suits up in it, has a little jailbreak scene.
Would you call it could it be quantified or qualified as scuffling?
Most definitely.
All right.
So they do a jailbreak scene.
It's nothing if not consistent.
They hightail it back to home because he's got a wife and kids at home. Like, what are you going to do leaving them there?
Shit.
Turns out, gets there, they've gone at light speed, and so they've gone to the future thousands of years, and now he's in the present time. It's written by Robert Venditti, who created The Surrogates, which was that Bruce Willis movie.
Yep.
And he also did some Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps books.
Okay.
The artist Kerry Nord also did some Daredevil and Conan runs that were highly acclaimed as well.
But not together.
No, not together.
Not a crossover.
I'm just
an odd combo.
If you like the artist in this, those are some other titles you can check out.
Okay, great. So, Man of War, thumbs up?
Yeah, I would give it a thumbs up. And this is the longest running title that Valiant has at this point. I think they're up at this point to 11 trades.
So this number one here, was that starting right when Dinesh and, I'm sorry, I can't remember the other gentleman's name, when they just took over the company?
I
was
believe
this launched
This
then?
was like one of the first ones.
And it's been Jason, Dinesh and Jason.
Yeah.
So it's been running since then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I decided what better place to start than The Valiant, which
of course.
I believe this was kind of like a little bit of a relaunch or just a push to get some new readers in, which hey, it worked for me.
Yep.
I'm not really familiar with any of the characters, but I figured this was a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And this is almost like, it read kind of like a big, kind of like a summer blockbuster type of movie where it gave me everything I needed to know about the whole world, a lot of these characters, without having to go back and do a bunch of research about it.
Mm-hmm.
And even more helpful is a nice little checklist and who's who of the main characters in this. And it's basically, it kind of centers on the Eternal Warrior, this warrior from years and years and years ago, who has been fighting this like never-ending battle with, he's like the immortal enemy is the name for him. And it's just straight up evil, just an evil presence. The Immortal Warrior is always after the Geomancer, which comes around every 1,000 years or so, and is like the force of good. The immortal enemy, no good, wants to kill them. Laugh in the Eternal Warrior's face,
knock
and then move on.
Pegs.
Yeah, just kind of like the Charlie Brown football scenario. Just like, let's try it one more time. I'm not gonna do it this time. Yank, dead. Sorry, Charlie. But that's kind of the setup. This guy, his mission is to protect the Geomancer, but man, he hasn't been doing a very good job. So we get to present time, where the new Geomancer is a woman named Kay McHenry, who is kind of unfamiliar with her powers. She just, typical, wants to be a normal girl, didn't ask for this burden. This Eternal Warrior's trying to help her, trying to shield her from the immortal enemy. He finds her. Shit goes down. So he kind of pulls in some help from all the other characters in the Valiant universe at this time, and one of which is Bloodshot, who kind of becomes something of the main character in this book.
Cool.
And at this point, it almost feels like a Terminator movie to me.
Oh, cool.
Where he's kind of like this just emotionless. He's very much like a Wolverine analog.
Yeah.
Just this assassin character who's tasked with keeping her safe from this immortal enemy that's just keeps pursuing her.
Right on.
And that's kind of the basic setup to this. It's like this century-spanning story of good versus evil.
Right on.
So it was really good. Great jumping on point for new readers.
Okay.
I was hooked. I was like, all right, I want to see where this goes from here.
That's and this book is kind of far along in Valiant's run, so it's good to like hook them right here, and they can go forward from here, and also read some back stuff to catch up.
And has a great team of Jeff Lemire, who I'm a huge fan of.
Oh,
I love his indie stuff, like Essex County, Underwater Welder, Trillium. Great creator. And Matt Kind, who's done some really great runs where he usually writes and draws. I guess Jeff does too. They both are fantastic in that. He did Mind Management and a couple other, that was a Dark Horse book. And then they've got some great artists too. I really don't want to butcher the names. Paulo Rivera and Joe Rivera. Fantastic art. Really clean, consistent.
Yeah.
Just easy to open up and just dive into.
Yeah. Another book I got is a book called Harbinger, and it's focuses around a character named Peter Stanchek, who finds out that he has these amazing mental abilities, and he kind of gets almost put into this X-Men type of like academy for other people with like
you hate to compare it to all these other publishers, but I mean it's a good jumping on point.
But it's he gets he's on the run for a while because he wants to be on his own because he's been abused before in the past. But he ends up getting with this team of all these other young people who also have these mental abilities, and they're not all just like the same. Like Charles Xavier can read minds, or Jean Grey can like do telekinesis. They're like have a wide range of different mental abilities that are available in this.
Oh, cool.
Like this foundation, and it kind of goes on an adventure there where you don't know who to trust, whatever. And this one is actually really good. When I got to the end, I really wanted to go on to the second trade, but again, I didn't have it, so I'm like, ugh. Go to In-Stock Trades, order them up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, Harbinger is really good. I can see exactly why they are making a movie out of this. It would be action-packed the whole time. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too much of it because if I explain too much, it'll ruin kind of the ending of it, but it's really good.
Okay.
Check out Harbinger. Harbinger is written by Joshua Dessart, who also had a little bit of a run on Swamp Thing, on its fourth run.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a lot of runs.
Gone through a lot of cycles.
Yeah. He also did a little bit of Conan and a little bit of Hellboy stuff as well.
Very cool. Who did the art?
Kerry Evans and a slew of others. Like he was the main penciler on the title, but I think some other people over a few other issues did either finishes or did a few. I don't know. I couldn't find a lot of information on him, so I don't know if maybe he's like just a slower artist or whatever it is. But anyway, the art in it is pretty great.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next book I read was one that I had seen this cover image of a lot.
Yeah.
It was always one of those, like, one of the best books you should be reading right now. And it's called Divinity. It's by Matt Kind, who co-wrote The Valiant, and Trevor Hairsine did the artwork. It is kind of like Valiant's take on a Dr. Manhattan type of character.
Oh, cool.
Where it takes place during the Cold War, and Russia sends their cosmonaut up into space to explore the great unknown. The particular character in this is Abram Adams, I believe is the name. So he goes up, experiences this just flash of divinity, essentially, like this like supernatural divine force goes into him, and he ends up returning back to Earth decades later, like 50 years later. And he's just all-powerful, this supreme being, and basically the rest of the Valiant universe, like the government, everybody, they don't know what to do with him. They're like, we need to go and make sure this guy doesn't just go off the wall.
Yeah.
But when he comes back, he's just like this wonderful, benign being. Like, people are going up to him and just asking for, like, their ultimate wish, and he's just granting them peace.
Oh, sure.
And he's created, like, this world where people can just go and live, and everything's beautiful. They get whatever they want. But as these things go, they're like, this guy's just way too powerful. So they kind of send in like a strike team to just make sure that he doesn't get out of hand.
Right on.
But just a really cool idea. I mean, he's very much a Dr. Manhattan type of character, right down to like the Buddhist pose and all that. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
The artwork's great. The storytelling is phenomenal. Like a great narration, internal monologue. Pacing's good.
Good.
Like just excellent. Nothing but recommendations for it.
I've heard a lot of positive things about that, and I think at C2E2 this last year they announced Divinity 2. So that's going to be coming out.
Yep,
as well.
I saw that, and I'll definitely pick it up.
Awesome.
This has been on my radar for a while, and I was always like, wait, Valiant? I don't read anything by Valiant. I don't know if I should jump into this. I might be lost. Just get it. It's good.
Yeah.
You don't need to read anything else. If you just want to try this, it might make you want to read the rest of it.
Perfect. The next one on my list is Bloodshot, one of the original characters from the old 90s launched Valiant universe. He is a character that's really complicated but very interesting. This is like your run and gun action adventure book is what it is. In this you kind of see not really the origins of him, but you see what kind of he's about. Like this government agency is pretty much pumped him full of nanomachines, and like with those nanomachines he can like heal himself, he can disguise himself as like a hologram kind of a thing. He can intercept radio transmissions through all these stuff.
It gives him this wonderful pale complexion, too.
Yeah, and he's just got a
really great look. Yeah,
oh my god,
absolutely.
does he? And this is like, when you were saying before, like a Terminator type of book. Like, this is like the Schwarzenegger action-y. This is like your action title that you want to pick up if that's what you want. It's amazing. And it's started by Dwayne Straczynski, who's done a ton of comic book work beforehand. He's done Moon Knight, Punisher, Cable, Iron Fist. He did Messiah War. And you find out that the organization that created Bloodshot also implant memories in his head. And so whatever specific mission they send him on, they implant certain memories in him so he would be more sympathetic and more heroic in this type of situation rather than another memory which would have him go off in another path. Like for instance, they put a memory in his head where he had an old army buddy, which he had to go save on this mission, which on the mission doesn't exist. But he's going to extract his buddy from the army.
So that his handlers are always fucking with him.
Oh, always. And they even have a little blurb in here that said, like, well, do we just wipe him again? And he's like, why not? We've done it 100 times before. And so it's really cool. And this one runs, I think, for like 4 or 5 trades, and then goes to Bloodshot Reborn.
And then Jeff Lemire takes over there.
Yeah.
And that picks up directly after some events in the Valiant, because, not to spoil anything, but he undergoes a big change by the end of that book. And I think that's where the next run takes off.
Yep. The artists on this are Manuel Garcia and Arturo Lazzi. I haven't seen much of them before, and I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find much. But the art is really good. And what they do, too, you can tell, like, the art is different from what he sees in his memories from what is actually going on. It's like kind of like a hazy, softer, like wholesome look, what his memories are. And then when he gets down to it, it's like bold and action-y and what's happening in real life. It's really cool. Another entry on our Valiant list of stuff to read is Archer and Armstrong. Goes very well with the Archer and Armstrong American Pale Ale.
Absolutely.
And we've been digesting this entire show.
Yes, and I don't remember if I mentioned it early, but I got it from Chicago Beer Cellars. In Chicago, of course.
Of course.
They you can go get it on their website. You can get it in store. But very cool place. And good beer.
It's very tasty. But this is a multiple Harvey Award-winning nominee, as you can probably tell by the banner on the bottom of this.
Let me see there.
There you go. It's,
who's that? Is that Harvey? Is that him?
That's Harvey himself. But it deals with Archer and Armstrong, respectively. Wait, I think I just...
Nope, yep, other way around.
Archer, Armstrong.
So the Archer has the crossbow.
But he doesn't have it until later on in the series.
Is that the twist?
Well, his last name is also Archer.
That would make more sense.
His name is Obadiah Archer. And Armstrong's character, his original name is Aram. And he's actually part of a larger part of the Valiant universe. You brought up the Eternal Warrior.
Yeah.
That's his brother.
Oh!
Out of all of the books I read, this is the funniest one and the most fun.
Yeah?
It really is.
Awesome.
And it takes quite a few twists and turns in it. I like it a lot, and I want to keep reading it.
Yeah.
This is written by Fred Van Lente, and in the early 2000s, he had a run on the Incredible Hercules, which made him relevant again, because he teamed up with Amadeus Cho, which you can kind of see like a big strong guy and a smarmy little like guy. And
is that kind of the personality between these guys? Is the cult member a bit of a punk?
No, he's a smart ass, but he's like kind of super religious. And so like he's kind of uptight about things. He doesn't swear. And then Armstrong is like a beer swilling, just tough guy, bouncer, womanizer, like but he's so fun to read.
The odd couple.
Yeah, and he gets drunk and he starts reciting poetry and all this stuff because he's lived thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Right.
And has been trying to get away from this group called the Sect, which you find out that Archer is a part of.
It's a cult?
Yep.
Okay.
It's super fun. It's drawn by Clayton Henry, who's done a ton of stuff with like the X books. I can see why this book has gone on for a long time because it is super fun read. Like, it's definitely an Odd Couple action-y title, and I would definitely recommend this 100%. I can see why they branded a beer after it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I kind of wondered, because I wasn't super familiar with the Archer and Armstrong. Like, they're not as iconic looking as something like Bloodshot.
Right.
Bloodshot beer, that sounds kind of cool, too. But, you know, they went with this for their first drink. Yeah. Oh, man. Let us know if you
think about it.
Yeah. Last one I read was the Death-Defying Dr. Mirage, which just a wonderful sounding title. Like, that's what drew me in, and I like the cover art too. It's really cool. So this was another one kind of like Divinity. I kept kind of running into, but didn't know anything about. Was like, yeah, I'll check it out.
Sure.
You know. So when we kind of picked our Valiant books, I just went for these kind of odd things that. They're newer. I don't think they have huge stake in the overall continuity. They're a little bit more of a standalone type of books. Cool. And this is basically about this female Dr. Mirage. Her name is Shan Fong, and her husband died a while ago. She's a spiritual medium, so she can contact the dead, and she goes around kind of like, you know, doing medium sessions, stuff like that. But she can't get a hold of her own dead husband, who has been like her whole lot in life to try to get back to.
Sure.
And she ends up getting wrapped into like this conspiracy and goes out into like, it's not the astral plane, but you know, the spirit world, and a lot of the book takes place in that. As she's trying to find her husband and also kind of solve this mystery that came into her lap. So this book is it's written by Jen Van Meter and illustrated by Roberto De La Torre, I believe. Like I said, the artwork is surreal, it's sketchy, it's I don't know, it just has a feel to it where every scene has a different tone, different color palette. David Barron too is one of the headliners on it. So really, I mean, it doesn't look like other Valiant books from our pile here. It's definitely the most out there.
Sure.
And it fits the storyline because it's a surreal, nightmarish story. So it fits perfectly. It's a really well-crafted piece. It reminded me kind of like a Clive Barker read. Clive Barker, famous British author, responsible for Hellraiser, Nightbreed, all that type of thing. It would fit right in, like, with his universe.
Right. The last book I have on my list is Ninjak, written by Matt Kind.
I don't know. We've probably butchered so many names.
But
there's no Smiths in the Valiant universe, so apologies. We didn't listen to any like phonetic pronunciations before the show.
It's drawn by Clay Mann, who did some Iron Fist stuff, Gambit, and did a lot of cover work for Marvel. The artwork is amazing. It reminds me of like an
it is good.
Oliver like Copiel.
Yes, it
art.
does. Yeah, it's super detailed.
And then they do backups by Butch Geis. This was the one book I was the most apprehensive about reading because Ninjak just sounds really 90s.
It sounds, it sounds dated.
But it was probably my favorate read.
Was it?
Yeah.
Really?
It's like this...
I liked the character a lot when he appeared in these books.
Yeah.
And he was one that I was like, I don't know about this.
I know.
Looks like Jago from Killer Instinct.
I know. And it was really good. Like, he's kind of kind of like a Batman type character. He's rich. He's British. Not like Batman, but Batman could be British and rich. It doesn't matter.
Why not?
It's like a spy thriller book. And it's done really well. I expected the least out of it and got the most out of it.
Awesome.
I was blown away at how much I love this book. Oh my god, I couldn't praise this book enough.
Okay, I'll have to read this one from you.
It's beautiful. It's written very well. It's amazing. So all in all, Dave, all in all, can we say we went all in?
I think we can.
Like, everything Valiant is doing at this point in time is amazing. If you're apprehensive about getting away from the big two, like, don't have any hesitations. Valiant is doing amazing work at building an entire universe from something that went defunct like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're doing like just gangbusters on it. Everything that I read, I want to read more of.
Oh yeah. My first instinct is to say they've been doing all this under the radar, but that's not even necessarily true. Like, they're getting praised out the ass right now. Like, we're just very, very late to the bandwagon, I think. But it's one of those where, like, you know, you hear, oh, you should watch Breaking Bad. You love Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's great. You're like, I'll get to it. You know, sure. I'm sure it's good.
Yeah.
I'll get to it eventually. And then you watch Breaking Bad, and it's like 3 years later, and you're like, have you guys seen Breaking Bad? And you're like, yes, we saw it 3 years ago. And you're like,
shut up!
It's great! Can we talk about it? Like, that's Valiant.
That's exactly
like,
what this is.
It's amazing. Like, it's really good.
And right now, they have a huge collection of books. So if you wanted to just dive in hard, you can find, oh my god, just in the titles we brought up alone, you could have 50 trades worth, almost. Yeah. It's just, I can't praise it enough.
I think it's like a really refreshing feeling when, you know, we're both big comic book fans.
Yeah.
And we read the shit we like, you know, and we read the shit that we hear is good, so we pick that up.
Yeah.
But it's usually within these main publishers.
Right.
So then to just uncover this entire universe of stories that you have no idea what is going on, it's so refreshing, it's so fun to be able to be like, oh my god, I don't know anything about these characters, and you're seeing it all for the first time.
And in the back of a lot of the trades, they give like a reading order which is
helpful,
so reader friendly for like people who are just trying to pick it up. If you frequent your local comic book shop, I recently did that a little bit ago, and I asked like, do you have any like Valiant books because I was looking to pick up a few more, and he's like, actually, no, because all the trades I sold out of. Because, they've just been flying off the shelves. Like, it's been, like, there was nothing, and then, boom, everybody is wanting them. So, like, good. So that was our deep dive into the Valiant Entertainment universe.
And definitely not the last.
No, definitely not
Maybe
the last.
In a couple, I mean, not right away. We'll give them some time to build up some more here, but we'll jump in again and see where they're at.
And we'll let you know about it. So as we finish our Archer and Armstrong American Pale Ale, it's doing work, as you can tell.
Absolutely, it's doing its job.
We're going to finish out the show, so let us know down below if you like Valiant Comics, if you have read any, if you have suggestions for us, we could give suggestions for you.
Yeah, give us some recommendations. I like what I've read. What should I read next?
So tell us. So this has been IMPERIUS REX. I'm Toward the Max Extreme.
I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And we'll see you next week.